Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Full Time Show, Sports Stars Indian Football Special Podcast. I'm not your usual host for the week. My name is Lavanya, and Sham is there. Uh, Welcome back to the episode, Sham, as is appropriate to say, I suppose.
Thank you, Lavanya. It's a pleasure to be back on the Full Time Show.
Absolutely. I'm just stealing your slot because this is not a usual episode. This isn't one of those wraps that we're going to spend time talking about results or, yeah, obviously we'll touch on it. But then this is not one of those episodes where we're going to be discussing performances of the week. This episode is dedicated to a rather grim development in the league at the start of this month, which involved Odisha FC. Rather unsavory comments were made by the head coach, and that's resulted in a whole conversation about the said incident. I'm not going to speak in third person and so formally. I'm just going to let Sham sort of explain what the context of this episode is about, considering you live blogged the entire game. You saw this happen as it did, and in fact were one of the earliest voices to sort of speak about it on Twitter as well. So Sham, why don't you just give our listeners a little bit of a context of what we're going to be discussing today?
Yeah, to jump right into it, we're going to talk about Stuart Baxter, the former Odisha FC coach, who had been sacked for his unsavory comments following his side's 1-0 loss to Jamshedpur FC on the 1st of February. So after the game, they had a few refereeing decisions which didn't work in their favor. And after the game, a visibly exasperated Stuart Baxter, in the post-match conference, was lamenting about the refereeing decisions, which has been a norm this season. Most coaches have, been very vocal of how the refereeing should improve in the league. And when talking about the said topic, he made a very unsavory and rather callous statement. He just went on to say that, I don't know if one of my players should get raped or rape someone to win a penalty in the box to win a penalty. And when I first heard that, I was live blogging the game and I was transcribing the quotes. I didn't really think, I didn't quite digest or want to believe the fact that he said that. So I texted a colleague.
What did you think he said instead?
I think he said ripped or stripped. Like, the accent was kind of hard to understand. I don't know if this is just me, but I didn't really grasp. I initially thought that he said the word rape, but I wasn't too sure. So I asked my colleague, who was also watching the game, if he heard the same thing as I did. And he said, no, I don't think it's, it was hard to understand. Maybe he didn't say what he said, but if he did, then that's outrageous. So, both of us just spoke about for a brief while. And we just let it go, saying, okay, let's see if somebody puts up a replay on Twitter, or let's see if something happens. If you can get a replay, we can confirm this. And well, as Indian Twitter works, as Indian football Twitter works, in 20 minutes we had a first video up on social media. And when I heard that 3-4 times, I was able to clearly hear the word that he said, the word rape. And that was it was bizarre. It's the worst analogy you can give. It's the worst kind of connection to make, and it's something that doesn't belong. It doesn't even make any sense on a football pitch. It makes absolutely no sense. It was possibly the worst analogy to ever use. And after that, I think most of football Twitter was part of it. We saw the kind of outrage that it kind of sparked out right after that, with everybody calling for a sacking. And the club on their part took, I think, an hour to respond and said that we're looking into the incident and we want to ensure that Odisha FC is a safe space. And the morning after, I think so, they had developments through the night. They worked on it all night, and then the morning after, they announced a decision that they were going to sack Stuart Baxter, one of the most, I think he's the oldest coach he was the oldest coach in the ISL this year. So they decided to sack him. And this episode is essentially breaking down how that went down, the decision to sack him, where the decision stemmed from. Was there any other choices that the top level management had? Were they considering, to perhaps suspend him and then reinstate him later on, or was the sacking an obvious option? We discussed that and a lot more with the club's CEO, Rohan Sharma, and the club's newly appointed president, Raj Athwal.
So let's dive straight into the episode then.
Hi Rohan, hi Raj. Welcome to the Full Time Show. It's great to have you guys on the podcast. I mean, we understand it's been a very tough few days for you, for all of you involved with the club, and we're really grateful for you to sit down and talk to us about the entire incident, which has been anything but comfortable, I'm sure. It's been 1 week since Stuart Baxter's sacking, and we'd like to talk to you about how things went down, how tough a decision it was for you to make, and especially considering, Raj, you've just joined the club less than 2 months ago. So now, it was obviously a great addition for you in Indian football. All right, to start with you, Rohan. To begin with, Odisha FC is having a rough time, in terms of results as well. And then came along Stuart Baxter's unsavory comments. So, I mean, I like to ask you, can you take us through how the developments of the night were when you heard what Baxter said on air, and how you took it, and the in the hours that followed, how did you react to it, and what was the mood like in the among the management? What was it like for you guys to hear your head coach say something like that on air on television?
Obviously, the big part initially was like, we're not doing well, and we had talks like, do we want to move on? And I think the general consensus was no, let's just finish the season and see how things go, and then take an internal call at the end of the season, because it doesn't make sense when you're in the bubble. You couldn't bring a new coach in, right? You could never do this. Every time you bring someone in, it doesn't make sense to do it, because then you're in the last 2 games of the season. So what the hell are you doing it for? You're just doing it just to do it, and then it doesn't look good. So we weren't planning to make a move, and then I remember. The funny thing is, I'll even take you hour by hour what happened. And I remember after that game, the Jamshedpur game, I was talking to Raj on the phone, because I usually talk to Raj after every game. We just kind of kvetch, I'd say what happened here. And on the phone, I just saw, cause I go on Twitter to see what people are saying, and then I saw some comments saying, "So wow, I can't believe Stewart said that." I thought, okay, that's weird. Why would that happen? And then the thing was, I couldn't see what nobody was saying what he was saying. They were just reacting to the thing. So I had no idea. I wasn't watching the post game conference. So I actually never do. But then I slowly, things are trickling out. Then I saw the word, of course, rape being thrown around, and I'm like, uh-oh. I said, what did he say? But I have no video of things, so I had no idea what to react to that either. So, and I told Raj on the phone, I'm like, I said, I think something has gone wrong. And Raj goes, what? And he goes, I'm seeing stuff on social media about what something Stewart has said, and I think that's to do with rape. And Stewart, and I remember Raj was quiet for like 3 seconds on the phone. And then he's like, what did he say? I said, I don't know, but I'll get back to you as soon as I see something, hear something. I text Abik, who's our head football, but she's like, were you at the press conference with him? And he goes, no, I was in the match commissioner's office complaining about the refs. Okay. And finally, I saw the video that was tweeted out, I think on Mumbai Safe, and he tweeted out, and I was like, oh God, you gotta be kidding me. And I called Raj. I'm like, Raj, we gotta do something about this. And then I sent him the link, and then he called me like in a panic. He was like, oh my God. And he was horrified. And we both were like kind of like tears in the headlight for me, because we said, how do we? Because the interesting thing is, you see this happen. I mean, I follow U.S. sports, and I see all these other teams when there's something that happens, like someone like domestic abuse, or when it's like a player who does something like wrong, he says like something like the N-word or something like that, and you see how teams handle it, and you never think it's going to happen to you. Then it happens to you, and then you're like, wow. Then so I had a series of 3 calls with Raj. I think with time we had a serious call about what to do. I think it was about 11 p.m. my time, which would have been 7 o'clock UK time, and about almost 1:30 your guys' time in the morning. And I said, we got to do a statement. I said, I know what to say, because at this point I couldn't do anything without anybody's permission, and I couldn't just like say immediately fire him and say, let's terminate. I said, okay, let's just put out a statement. Let's say that we can at least apologize, acknowledge it, so we know that we're aware of it, not like seem like we're hiding from it. Because I know if you don't address this within the first 24 hours, forget it. It's just then you're like kind of supporting it, or you're kind of undermining what people are saying. So I said, let's put on a statement. I'll do it tomorrow morning when everybody's up in my side of the world, your side of the world. Let's deal with it for now. We'll put a statement, and then let's go from there. And so during that time, we're talking, Raj goes to me, should we talk about terminating? I said, I think we have to put on the table, because I said, this is a very serious thing, because in India, throwing that word around is not exactly a smart thing to do. It's not the right thing to do, not even just in India in general. You shouldn't be saying these kind of stuff. I mean, who says this? I mean, there's so many other words you could have used in that scenario that you could have not used that word. I mean, there was actually more words he could have said that were right than wrong. And I don't know how he could let it on that one. And so we said, okay, we have 2 options. One is, of course, firing, which was the one we all wanted. And then the second is, in case they say no, just we fine them and this. And next morning, after we thought about it, we said no, we have to fire him. So the first thing we had to do in the next morning was getting our legal stuff together. We're trying to get the legal notices, because it's not like in like any other job I can just like say fired, and I have to make sure my legal things or contracts are honored, everything else is going. So it took a little time in the morning to get things going. And then finally, by time it around, I think it was 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, I think India time. I know he had to call him first, because we couldn't just put it out in the press first before doing it. We had to call him to tell me was some connection issues. So time everything went down, I think it was around 11:30 in the morning, your time. Yeah, it was about everything. We initially told him, and by 1 p.m. we put the like 12:30, I think was when the statement came out.
Of course, then after that, you had these initial reactions on Twitter, especially linking this to the side's form. So, how did you exactly handle that?
What kind of made me make a clarification in the statement, because I saw IFWTC or IWFTC, one of those two. I forget how the acronym is, but they had put something about saying that we had fired him because of the results, and then I was responding to that tweet to make sure that it was like, people were aware that that's not the reason why. Because I know the statement was because I thought people would pick up on it, because why would we fire him because of results when it's like at this point in the season we would have fired him. It was results have been like 3-4 weeks ago. Wouldn't have been at the end of the season to fire someone. I thought people were going to pick that up, but then when I saw people were saying that it was because of results, I had to put a kibosh on that and said, no, this is what it's really for. And I think even Manvasi, she responded to your tweet, Lanya. And then I was thinking who should I respond to first, and I thought, let me put to the guy who gets the most viral. Not to say you don't get viral hits, Lavanya. So simply, I'm not trying to. I thought that goes on the Instagram, that goes on this thing. So I wanted to do stuff, then I respond to yours directly, because you were very emotional, very well thought out tweet, and I want to respond to that, even though I was told not to respond directly to a lot of things because they want to make it legal, whatever the heck is. But I felt personally I didn't want people to consider what was going on behind the scenes, the reasons why we did it. Listen, at the end of the day, it was pretty shocking. I know some people might think that it was just an opportunistic person to do it, time to do it, but it really wasn't. We didn't want to have this as a club thing.
Right, then Raj, I wanted to ask you, no one really expects to walk into a job right away and then have a controversy like this that's raging. Like you walked in, you joined Odisha FC close to 2 months ago, and now you're dealing with one of the biggest controversies in the ISL itself. So how has it been for you? How did you see it from where you were? You were, I think, in the UK, right? Like 4.5 hours, 5 hours behind us. And how did you see the entire day? How did you see the things through? And did you manage to get any sleep that night? What was it like? I'm sure you had like very troubled day or two at least to deal with and figure out how to solve this crisis.
We heard the post-match interview, and from there it got a lot of traction, not just in India. It got a lot of traction in the UK, but as a football club, we dealt with it immediately. We were on a conference call, and unfortunately, it was terminology that was used was to illustrate an extreme situation, which we're all aware of, and was quite rightly condemned. So that's, as I said, the football club dealt with it immediately, even though we had time differences. We were decisive.
So, what was that call to Stuart really like? It is understandably a very difficult conversation to have, given the circumstance and the kind of situation that we're dealing with right now. So, as management, how did the two of you handle this particular conundrum?
I know Raj spoken directly. I didn't speak to him after to let him go. I know Raj did. I think from what I did hear, he was surprised. He's like, oh, it was like an expression. It was kind of like a thing that he kind of used it as like it was off the cuff. He thought people. It was just like a thing that it was like, I don't want to say it's like an expression. I think that was the word he said. And he said, I didn't mean it to be like so inflammatory. I just said, I think as the news built up from the UK, because he thought, of course, it was Indian media overreacting. And then I think he was a little upset that I tweeted that. He made him seem like I was, not defending him. And I said, look, I can't defend someone saying that. I don't know how you want me to play this role. But I think where it really hit home for him is when he saw the complete, it was in Washington Post. It was in my hometown newspaper, man. I mean, this was crazy. And it was in Guardian. It was in Daily Mail. I mean, places where I dreamed about the club going to. Now it's going for this reason was really shocking and upsetting to me, because I was like, I was one in my hometown Washington Post covered Odisha FC that but this for this reason is so bad. And I think once that we got to CNN and the South African press, I think then he realized he kind of may have effed up. And I think that's where he was like, okay. Because the first, from what, again, I didn't speak to him directly, so I don't know what was said, but what Raj was telling me is that the first call was a little bit more angry, like, and then that's the second call with him to like kind of get things settled and all this stuff in terms of like financial settlement and stuff like that. I think he had calmed down and realized that he made a mistake, and I think that's when he put his own statement out at that time.
Obviously, for any manager, it was a difficult situation, and I'm sure anybody would be regretting what they say. But it would be remiss of me to disclose any private conversations, which I'm sure you'll understand. But what I will say is that we have a duty of care and responsibility to our stakeholders, the Odisha government, the fan base. we're a community club. We're inclusive. Our fans are mixed. They are boys, girls, men, women, and so for us it was very important, and also on a global stage as well. It's very important that we did the right thing, and which is how the outcome was.
I don't think Stuart, and this is where I'm not trying to throw him completely under. I mean, I don't think he's a bad person. I don't want to get on that thing where I feel like he was saying misogynistic stuff throughout this time in India. That's not true. I just think he said it in a fit of anger or whatever you call it, but that doesn't excuse the fact that all words have consequences. At a public stage on live TV, in the country that is India, you can't say these inflammatory things, and unfortunately, I had to let him go because of that.
So, Rohan, while, you and Raj are discussing terminating Stuart Baxter's contract, what was the mood in the camp like? What were the players feeling? And, when you did convey the decision to them to let go of the coach, what was their reaction like, considering the fact that they would be without a coach for the remainder of the campaign? And it's been a tough season as it is, with the results not going their way. And now without a coach, would have been perhaps just made that job a little tougher for them. So how did they take it, and what was their reaction like?
When Raj told the team, I mean, the team understood. The good thing is the team understood. Like, even the team was like, "Whoa!" I mean, it's not like everybody was like, "No, I think we did a little too much. I think you're a little harsh on him." And no, but everybody was on board. Steven, the Indian boys, they even thought so. The coaches, I mean, everybody did. And even Coach Gary, who was his assistant coach, usually when the coach leaves, the assistant coach usually goes with the coach, but he stayed, I think, because he even realized, I think we went a little too far. And so I think that was the one nice thing, is that the team kind of realized it. And I say nice with it. I don't know why we say it's nice, but people it should be obvious, not nice or not. People, it's the obvious thing to repel against. But yeah.
And Raj, you come in, to the ISL with more than 2 decades of managerial experience, having worked in Britain for so long. And, can you help us understand these events from that perspective? Like, did you ever have to face a situation of this kind early in your career? Is this something that you've already dealt with previously?
Yeah, that's right. I've not had to deal with a case such as this particular incident in 26 years, but across football, you come across all types of events. It's well documented at Coventry. We had 2 players who had a fight at the training ground. One of the players, it was physically hurt, and that was dealt with internally. So yeah, in football there will always be incidents, and it depends on how the club deals with it. It depends on the severity of the situation, the circumstances, and football will always be very intense. The dressing room is intense, and that's something that perhaps not anybody who's not worked in the industry will always understand. Even for players or managers, their jobs are at stake. The results are critical. We live in a world now of social media, digital, where every action is scrutinized, and so it's very, very important that there's a semblance of understanding the intensity of football. So yes, I've come across incidents, but not the incident I came across last week.
So in the sort of broader perspective of things, I think what this entire controversy also meant for us is that it brought up a conversation about how trivializing things like sexual harassment is so commonplace in sport language, between fans, between people who play or watch the sport. So in that sense, this decision was important because it got a lot of people talking about how maybe the punishment doesn't fit the crime. There were a lot of people who thought this was a little too extreme a step to take for just someone saying something about rape. So in that sense, what message do you want this decision of yours to send out to the larger fan bases out there? And what do you think about how normal this actually is on ground in front of, like, between fans? And what do you hope that this will help change?
Listen, I think that in today's world, we have to be always cognizant of the fact of what we say. And I do think that we have this history in this, and I'm throwing, because, again, there are 3 guys on this call, and, we tend to do this bro culture in the way we say things, and we just are careless what our word says. I don't want this to be the norm of football, and I didn't want this to be something, like I said, what we represent. So I thought, even though people might think that it's a harsh action to fire someone because of something he may have said out of anger, we just can't let these subtle thoughts, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, if you're just saying out of anger, what would you, is that like your instinct to say these things? We should try to break the norm of this normative stuff of saying things like this, and and out of the way. So we try to be more cognizant of the fact that even people, I even hear people who say racial epithets when they're losing in FIFA and all this stuff. And does that make that right to do it? Imagine if you had something like that. But I think it's a responsibility we have as, football sports teams are kind of like idols people. I mean, I'm not saying Odisha FC is idle. We're the bottom of the table. Look, we're a bottom of the table. Nobody's like saying I want to be at Odisha FC right now. But the fact of it is we're a public team, a public organization. And we can't allow these things to be said by any of our employees or our players and stuff like that. Would have been, even if one of our best players would have said that, I would have had to take action like that, because it's just not right. And it's just not the way we want to have things. And I'm hoping this setting the example that, that actions have consequences to this. It's not like this kind of free for all that if we will pay it or do something on the table and just kind of hide it away. Like I said, I've seen too many NFL teams do this. I've seen too many Sports School America do the wrong things. I didn't want to be one of those teams. I always, when I would see, like I remember that I was giving an example earlier with Raj, and how when Ray Rice had that incident, I don't know if you guys heard about that here. Ray Rice punched his wife with full of his strength in the elevator and like dragged by the hair. It was graphic, awful, awful. It took him like 2 weeks for them to do it. They did a press conference with her, the wife, and the guy. It was like a really awkward, bad way to handle it. It was a mess. And then recently, the Seahawks had some other guy whose wife went to the hospital for domestic abuse, and they still took more than a day to do it. And that's when you saw the pictures, and it's like, I didn't want this club to have that. And for people who do say this, and the guys, yes, guys, we have a responsibility to change the way we say. I'm not trying to be preachy. We don't have that same fear as women do every day. I've had a lot of friends who are survivors, and I know how they've talked to me about their trauma and, privately and all this stuff. It makes a difference in how we change the way we speak and how we hear the situation. And I'm sure in India, I don't want to be presumptuous because I'm, even though I'm half Indian, I don't, live in India. But from what I've heard, it's not always, I don't want to problem with this, because I saw a lot of people in Europe like painting with a broad stroke about India. And I also don't want that to be the case, but because it's everywhere in the world, it's not just in India. But I know we can be a little insensitive, and not little, we can be insensitive. And I just hope that, this is the kind of way that people kind of realize that, this is what we have to do. If there's an instance like this, it's dealt with swiftly, dealt with hard, and it could be anything. It could be about, rape, racial stuff. I mean, anything. For me, that's not what this club is about. That's not what we wanted to do. That's not my ideology. Even if someone was homophobic, I would have been very pissed off at that too. I mean, we don't let that kind of crap happen in Odisha. I saw people like saying good job, but I still like thought like, why, it's so bad that people are telling me good job about this, instead of saying he just did what's wrong. Isn't this what everybody should be doing? It's not like I'm not doing anything above and beyond. It's just doing something that it should be done.
So that's what the management at Odisha FC told us about the termination of Stuart Baxter's contract. Now, in the days that followed the controversy, Stuart Baxter did give a statement to South African news website, and I will read it out as follows. It must be clear and simple that I distance myself from any sympathetic position on gender-based crimes and violence. My comments, though wholly inappropriate and misplaced, were also out of context. People that know me know that getting it wrong does not reflect any of my views as a father, grandfather, a citizen, and husband. There's never been any sort of suspicion that I am not wholly against violence towards females. It would be cowardly, I think is despicable, and I have always made my views known. This is not who I am, and anybody that knows me knows who I am. When you lose a job, it's important to me. The biggest pain I am feeling now is that I have not spoken in the way that reflects how I feel, and therefore people are questioning me. That hurts more than losing my job. So this is what Stuart Baxter had said to South African news website. And in all fairness, we tried to reach out to him as well. We got in touch with Stuart Baxter through email, but he responded to us saying he would not want to comment at this point, considering he's bound legally to not talk about it currently. And he chose not to give us a statement at this point.
Shyam, before we sort of move ahead with the episode and even talk about this any further, I think one thing that sort of stands out to me, at least personally, is how this entire experience, the way it played out online, the way the owners and the president also spoke to us, and even the way Stuart Baxter sort of responded to this as gender-based crimes, sort of only looks at women as the victim. Because you and I both know, when we caught up with Rohan and Raj as well, they were very concerned about women's safety in India. They were very concerned about the message it sends out about women's safety. I mean, I know this is, again, sort of deviating from the point, But in this entire conversation, since we're having it anyway, and since we're having it with a group that can get a little toxic, like sporting fan groups, I think it's important to understand that sexual harassment, trivializing sexual harassment, rape in this case, is not something just women go through. Like at this point is where you do the whataboutery of what about men, because men go through it as well, and probably with a lot more stigma than women might at several points. So I just wish that this, again, I might be nitpicking, but I wish that nuance was there, that this isn't, as much as women have been historically more affected, or as much as this is a more important conversation that the country is having, this is something that people of all gender labels sort of go through, and the solidarity needs to be with all of them, irrespective of what kind of gender label they wish to assign to themselves. I think this solidarity should have extended all over there. So I hope that message has sort of gone into the sort of conversations we have about sexual harassment, especially considering we've had a very landmark judgment go up today as well. As we record this, actually, the day that we're recording this, we've had a very important judgment in the Me Too movement. It should sort of sit down with fans the same way. Yeah, that's all I had to say before we sort of move ahead. But yeah, the larger question does remain, right, Sham? I mean, we can talk about this, and this is a conversation that's going to continue probably for the rest of our lives. But as things stand right now, we still have football to discuss, and Odisha FC unfortunately finds itself not in the greatest of positions at the moment. And the fact that this is what they're going to remember the season for is as unfortunate as things can get. But can you give us a sort of a lowdown as to what's happening on the field? What does it look like for them, considering the league stage is now coming to an end?
So Odisha FC's troubles on the field continue. They are rooted to the bottom of the table with 9 points, 18 matches. They've only won one game so far and have drawn 6 and lost 11 matches. The 3 Goa, which is today, on the 17th of February, they've lost to Goa 3-1, which essentially means they will finish at the bottom of the table. They can't overtake 10th placed Kerala Blasters. And they also lost their South African midfielder Cole Alexander today, who picked up a hamstring injury, which looks like his season's pretty much done. So yes, their troubles have continued. I mean, Gerard Payton, the assistant coach, Stuart Baxter's assistant, has been named the interim coach, and he has obviously, changed the lineups around. He's given a few more players look-ins, but it's been tough. It's been anything but easy for the club, given the poor results on the pitch, as well as having their head coach terminated in the manner that it happened, given the circumstances and given what he said. So it's been anything but easy on them. But again, it's a club that promotes youngsters. It's a club that has one of the youngest squads this season, and also has a lot of quality foreign players as well, in Stephen Taylor, Jacob Tratt, and Cole Alexander, who's now injured. Amount of time before they click. Perhaps this wasn't a good season for them. But I mean, now obviously nothing left for them this season. They got 2 games left. One is against Mumbai City FC on the 24th of February, and the last game will be against SC East Bengal on the 27th of February. So it's all about pride for them, for the Kalinga Warriors. It's all about pride at this point. And while we hope they can wrap up their season with at least one more win, maybe something for them to look forward to.
Absolutely. So I think at the end of this, we would like to extend our gratitude to the management at Odisha FC, and even to Stuart Baxter for that matter, for just responding to our requests to have a conversation about this. These are conversations we need to have on the side of sport. So I'm glad we got to do that. And I understand this is a very, very sober sort of an episode, but we do have things that we need to plug, as is routine. And one of them is our subscription call, because these are conversations we want to keep having with you. And the only way we can do that is if you subscribe to this podcast. You can do that wherever it is that you listen to this podcast on: Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere. Just find us and click that subscribe button. If you have the notifications icon, click that as well, so that you don't miss an episode from us. This conversation itself, the ones that we've had with Rohan and Mr. Raj Atwal, they were part of larger conversations that we've had about the club as well, isn't it, Sham?
They want to eventually also field a women's team in the Indian Women's League and start off an entire academy process. They already got an academy process in place for the boys and girls, but they want to have a full-fledged academy where they can train them through the year and also offer them education. So it makes it a really holistic approach. So they want to have a proper academy of sorts. And also, Mr. Raj did hint at the fact that they would in the future also want to tie up with some English clubs to give them to bring in a sense of more professionalism, in a sense of how things do work abroad as well, to get the technical expertise from the top level English clubs. So that's something they're looking at as well. But this season is I mean, there's been no ground activation. There's been no community engagement as such.
Plus the pandemic as well. The recovery from the pandemic is another thing that they have sort of really stressed on in their plans going forward. But yeah, of course, because this episode is what it's about, we're going to reserve this part of the conversation for a little later when it's a little more appropriate to speak about economic and financial things of the club. But for this episode, we hope there was something for all of y'all to take away from this conversation as well, and from the developments on a whole. We're glad we got to see something like this pan out the way it did, because it sends out a good message, even though it is the right thing to do. And Sham will be back with his usual attendees in the podcast, because of course we've got the playoffs coming up really soon, so they've got a lot of very, very interesting content lined up for you. So I hope you stick around to listen to that. Sham looks very excited. I know you can't see his face right now. He looks very, very excited to bring all of that to you. So make sure you keep listening to the full-time show. And of course, Sham, Ashin and our entire team is bringing you the Indian Super League in the highest capacity we possibly can, right from live blogs and continuous coverage to, of course, this podcast and interviews and everything else. Do make sure you log on to our website, www.sportstar.thehindu.com. And the other thing we want to tell you about is, of course, it is that time of the year where our annual Sportstar Aces Awards comes back. And this time, I know several of you guys must be thinking, 2020, we had no sport, only what are you guys going to like sit and award now? No fear. This time we're dealing with the greatest of the decade. So we're going to be looking at best moments, best athletes from the 10 years that have gone by. And voting is currently open. So you can go over to sportstar.thehindu.com/aces-awards. I'll make the link available. I know this is a lot of links to throw at you. I'll make the link available in the description. Please go and vote for your favorite cricketers, footballers, badminton players, even moments of the decade. There's a lot of stuff happening there, and voting closes on February 28th, so make sure you don't waste too much time. So have you voted, Sham?
Of course I have. Indian football fans, this is a big opportunity for us to vote as well. We've got Sunil Chhetri in the reckoning. We've got Bengaluru FC as well.
Bala Devi.
Yeah, of course. So yes, we've got a lot of big wigs who have been nominated, and it'll be great if you guys can go spread the word about Indian football as well. We've got Indian footballers, Indian football clubs, part of the Sportstar Aces Awards. So it'd be great if you guys could share and yes, make your voice count. Please do go ahead and vote.
And when you do that, we're going to take a little bit of a break and then come back to you with another episode very soon. Until then, I guess it's goodbye from Lavanya and
from Sham.
Alright guys, take care until the next episode. It's goodbye from all of us here at Sportstar.